Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast from Banter where we review every single Palme d'Or winner. We're back after a little break here, and today we are talking about Man of Iron, 1981 Polish film, Eastern Bloc, Behind the Iron Curtain. We are continuing our series here of Eastern European movies because I'll just jump right into it. Last time we talked about the 1946 Palme d'Or winner from the Soviet Union, which would be The Turning Point. We did not like that movie very much, but we had a fun discussion about it. It got a 3.7 out of 10 and ended up at spot number 65. And today we are going to put that behind us into the past, go a little bit farther, go to 1981 and talk about this Polish film, Man of Iron. The director is Andrzej Wajda. Starring Marian Opania, the main character, Krystyna Janda, and Jerzy Radziwiłowicz. I'm going to try with the Polish names, but the Polish names are pretty difficult.
Listen, we got some tough ones here.
We got a lot
please forgive us if you are of the Polish descent. Please forgive us.
Per usual,
preemptively forgive.
Yeah,
we'll do a couple Hail Marys at the end of this episode.
I believe we will.
Better to ask for forgiveness than to look up how to pronounce Polish names.
Yep,
as the famous saying always goes.
I'm excited to hear what you guys have to think about this one, and I want to get right into it. And so without any further ado, Abram, hit us with a comment, please, and then we'll just get the show on the road, talk about Man of Iron.
Oh, I have one for you. We're going to go to an evergreen video here, a favorite video, the every Oscar Best Picture ranked.
Our 6-hour opus.
Yes, true. We got a new comment here from Mandyland739 who says, "Wow, I just ran across this video and spent all morning watching every minute. You have such intelligence and passion and even trivia tidbits to add. What a fun ride it was to watch you complete the task. I was in high school and college during the 80s and hated the Oscar-winning films back then. Nobody I knew was running out to see Chariots of Fire. My kids have a different experience and actually pay money to see things like Parasite and Everything Everywhere. I like the fact that the Academy is finally recognizing more films based on merit instead of awarding movies made to impress them, and finally recognizing genres like horror more and more. May the run of the 80s never be repeated."
In more ways than one, I agree with that.
There we have it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Alrighty, Tanner, Man of Iron. Yeah. What is the plot of this Polish movie? Get your history textbooks out, because this one.
That's right. Crack those history textbooks open.
Tanner, what's the plot?
The plot.
Oh, very good, Tucker. Thank you. The plot of this is that this film.
That's a really bad joke. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know. Polish. What am I doing here? Our main character, kind of, is Maciek, who is a reporter, a radio reporter in Poland in the year 1980.
No, the main character is Winkel.
Winkel, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Winkel's the reporter.
Well, that's my point. We spend a lot of time with both of these guys, one of whom in a lot of flashback, and Winkel we see sort of in the 1980 standoff between the Polish government and the striking dock workers, shipyard workers. He is tasked by his government, specifically the Secretary of Radio, for some reason, to infiltrate the strike committee and sow dissent, try and break this up by getting dirt on the guy who is leading this strike, Maciek Tomzik, I believe I think that's how they say it in the movie. Yeah. Who is the son of another famous sort of dock worker strike leader. And we spend a lot of time with Maciek in flashback, sort of flashing back 10 years to 1970, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's when his father is killed in a different
exactly. So we spent a lot of time back then, sort of exploring how he became radicalized to become the sort of labor rights fighter that we see now in 1980. And for Winkel, it's really a journey of having this assignment from the government and becoming more and more empathetic and sympathetic to the striking workers' cause over the course of the film.
That's about what happens. I want to hear from Abram first for your thoughts. Initial impressions, Abram. You always give us good stuff. So what did you think of this one?
I think this is a good movie. I think it's very dry, and I think that that's the biggest barrier to entry for me for a while. I found myself very much warming to the film as it went along,
Yeah.
and as I came to really dial into the intergenerational dimension of the storytelling, because I find that I think to be the most compelling part. I think Winkle is just not a hugely interesting character to me, and I found him to be more interesting for sort of the situations he put me in than for what he himself provided. And so as the plot is escalating and we're meeting more people who are shedding more light on this intergenerational struggle that's been passed on, and I come to really feel ignited by the solidarity and sacrifice we see. I found myself getting more and more into the film, but it was definitely a little bit slow going for me at the start.
Tucker, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm a fan of this movie. I think that it gives us an in character, an audience stand-in character in Winkle, who is obviously very familiar with the time. He actually with the culture and the politics of the times. He's actually been working to tell these stories as a reporter for a number of years. He covered the story of Maciek's father back when he was a revolutionary, and Winkle is the reason why I think this movie works for me. I agree with Abraham. He is not a very interesting character in and of himself. I think the performance is actually quite good. He's got kind of a he's always sweating, like, oh God, what do I do? Kind of like
I must keep my mouth shut, or I will reveal my bit too early. So,
oh, he has a bit. Oh no. But that perspective of a guy who is stuck between two worlds, and has to appease the job and the overlords that he's serving, and also do his best to learn about the dock workers, the strikers. I think is a really interesting framing device for learning about a strike and a culture and a time period and a nation that I'm not familiar with. And so I think that was actually, it was like surprisingly approachable. As I was watching, like, oh, this is like, I can put myself in this mindset, and I'm like learning facts from both sides, and I find that kind of holistic approach very interesting. And I think the movie kind of hits a second wind when we're introduced to a female main character at the end, Agnes. Yeah, Agnes, who is just, I mean, her performance is my favorite in the movie. Yeah. She's so spirited. She has so much energy. She has so much emotion. Unlike so many other characters we see, she has more. She has a personal connection to the things, and she's showing it. I think that part of Abrams' comments, which I agree with, of a lot of the movie being dry, especially a lot of the characters being dry, is that a lot of them are just like being tight-lipped to not let their emotions slip and sort of like have other people take advantage of that. But the situation that that Winkle and Agnes are in gives her this opportunity to be very vulnerable about her past. And so I guess I'm actually just like diving into one of the points here. But I think the movie got better as I watched it. I think Winkle is an interesting frame narrative. The actual like strike content narrative is fine. Like I don't know how much I specifically learned about this other than like it happened and it was very tense. But then when we hit Agnes, I'm like, okay, there's a lot more emotion here. There's a personal stake that I found in this sort of political slurry that helped me kind of anchor myself a little bit stronger. So yeah, I was quite surprised by this. I think it's pretty good.
I'm gonna go next because I'm gonna be a little humorous, and then Tanner can round it out with maybe if he chooses a little more self-serious. But yes, I agree with Abram. This movie is kind of dry. But something that really kind of excites me about it is the documentary aspect. It's got this title card at the beginning that's like all the characters in this movie are fictional, but the events are not. Some of the quotes are not. And then in a little further research, much of the protest footage and some of these with like large crowds and stuff that happened later in the is documentarian.
Yeah.
Is real life, real footage.
The film stock is different. The color grading is different.
Yeah. And that is very cool to see.
Even in the 360p rip that I was watching,
You
and
can
by the
tell.
way, that is like a really bad resolution to watch a movie, and I don't recommend it.
Now, here's my bit. Vinkel really reminds me, Tucker, as you said about his acting, I think he's really great. He really reminds me of my favorite influencer right now, who I've been influenced quite a lot by, a fella out of England by the name of Jimmy Brown, who is 19 and an alcoholic. And he's always talking about how
What?
he needs to drink. It's either a bit or it's not. You can't tell. That's why it's beautiful.
I've never heard of this guy.
You got to look up Jimmy Brown. Right.
Oh,
Right, my name's
Jesus.
Jimmy Brown. I'm in Gdansk and I can't find any vodka. I've got the shakes and it's driving me crazy. So Vinkel just reminds me a lot of this guy. Every single video of Jimmy Brown starts
Jimmy
like this.
Brown, alcoholic,
19.
teenage.
Jim E. Brown.
Oh.
I see.
Oh.
Okay.
So now that I've done a big advertisement for free for this
Right.
guy, yes, Vinkel is a very strange frame narrative that I want to dive into more about the specifics of why his character for me works and why the foil, I guess, of Vinkel versus Tomchik is such an interesting character dynamic to have as these two orbiting figures that they meet flirting or not flirting. That's hello Freud. They meet in a passing moment here and there in the film, but they don't really interact, despite them being the two most important characters that we see. And so, yeah, I think that, despite my I'm interested in Eastern Bloc history, I just don't know anything about Polish history. And so this film definitely inspired me to go Googling a little bit, learning a little bit, and finding out about the real domino effect that these events had in this film really led to the fall of the Polish People's Republic, then the rest of the Eastern Bloc. And so, yes, I find that very fascinating. And the movie was all right too. So there you have it. Tanner, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put a nice little ribbon on all your guys' thoughts that I all broadly agree with in the many ways. I think this is an interesting meditation. Additionally, on the formation of ideologies across people and across generations. There's a father-son relationship that is, of course, very central to this, and because we mentioned it in the old BLB group chat earlier, it's worth noting here. This is a film, or this is a sequel to a film called Man of Marble, that is more about the
murdered
Birak
father.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, the murdered father character of Maciek. And this is a sort of sequel following his son more, but also Vinkel, this other character. That film it was just from 4 years before Man of Iron, also directed by Andrzej Wajda. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting meditation on how those ideologies form and why people can become convinced of things. Obviously, that is kind of Vinkel's whole arc, is becoming unafraid to rail against his government and do what he feels in his soul is right, as opposed to just keeping his head down, taking the money and doing his job. This is a film about how you find those things that you feel are right and what it takes and what you can do to follow that path. Broadly, I thought the film was, quite good. I think that Vajda is a very talented director, of
As
course.
Jimmy Brown
This
would
is
say, bang on.
bang on. Of course, he's a bang on director. I found this film to be a little less electric and formally exciting than the film I've seen from him several years ago, a far earlier film of his called Ashes and Diamonds, which is sort of a post-war rebellion picture. But this is
You're kind of an early era Vajda fan.
yeah, I like his early stuff. Certainly. But no, as far as being
before he lost the soul,
yeah. But as soon as Vajda went to color, that's when it all went to shit.
Yeah, Vajda had a rough transition to 3D.
Anyway, I think the movie's good. I think there's some interesting stuff in it. Perhaps, yeah, just maybe a little bit too much of an ebb and flow in terms of how much the story and the structure and the characters are hooking me.
Tucker, what general area, as we do every episode, do you want to have us begin to
General
think
area?
about? And general area reporting for duty. What field of operations are we going to begin?
Well, I think the last thing that Tanner mentioned there, I think is kind of interesting, is this movie's like formal presentation. Uh, I I also watched this movie in 360p, as I mentioned, and so like, whatever quality that exists or existed for this film, I was severely limited in. But I found myself pretty underwhelmed by the filmmaking of it.
Yeah.
I think that the editing is the only thing that stands out as interesting because it is doing this layered narrative of introducing us to these characters, having them flash back to their pasts with Tomchik and letting us see the things that they're talking about. I think that is that's. But to me, it feels more like a screenwriting thing than an editing thing. And otherwise, like, I don't really remember like a cool shot or like use of lighting or like I guess I appreciate the incorporation of documentary footage, like film newsreel footage and things like that. But otherwise, I don't know. Like I think from movies that win such prestigious awards, I think this movie's maybe timing and political relevancy is probably why it was so lauded for the time. But
it like came
when
out maybe 9 months after the events.
Yeah. They mentioned the year 1981 in the movie. I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know. What did you guys think of the movie sort of presentationally? Because I think that's where it at least grabbed me.
I would kind of push back about the camera work. I actually found a number of the shots pretty interesting. They combine well. I think Vajda's hand as a blocking director. I think there's a lot of really interesting like character blocking in this film, in which obviously it's naturalistic. We're not really doing anything that could be construed as fantasy. It's all like, we bring in real footage from the real world. But in service of that naturalism, there's a lot of like really actually pretty long takes where the camera seems stationary, characters move around. We got good triangle blocking where it's interesting, one person's top in the frame, low in the frame, they move. The emotions of the scene dictate them to get up, walk around, move around. The camera will like float and be with them. I found it to be effective. This is not a groundbreaking camera technique, but it is a one that's like really like rooting me in this world and bringing me back. And it does remind me of the style of the era and the place, like some of these Tarkovsky film? No, not exactly. There's this, I can't remember the name of it right now. There's a Russian black comedy that has really similar like vibe to it, just like the color grading and the costumes and the Ladas and the
It's a Lada?
A car, a Soviet car, a shitbox if you are a gearhead. But
the Latin term is shitbox.
Just kind of like I did
believe
like
they call them clunkers.
No. The way that we're, the camera is not invisible to me. We are making intentional moves, and I just the one piece of production design that really stands out to me is these bridges where Tomjik's father is killed at. They're like, they must be real. I don't really think there's anything in this movie that's like a set that has like, they're like super wonky. They're at really weird angles. And I just find that to be this kind of mixing of industrial imagery with the strife and the workers' rebellion, and it to be visually arresting for the 2 or 3 shots in the whole movie that it shows up in. But yeah, the flashbacks and stuff is works, and I think that's where the meat of the plot, characters, and themes of the movie come out in the interplay between flashback and current time, as Winkel goes around and meets someone, and he's like, "You got 15 minutes," and then we go spend 30 minutes in flashback. That's pretty awesome.
I mean, there's an interesting dimension to what this film chooses to show from its contemporaneous narrative about the actual strike unfolding. We don't actually spend a ton of time there. And when we actually...
It resolves off screen, which I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I think it's interesting that what we do see, there's this very, I think very often claustrophobic feeling that the film is cultivating through these tight rooms or in these stuffy spaces we're in. I also really love this sort of recurrent image in the sort of in the striking timeline of the narrative as we come back to this gate over and over again, and we're seeing flowers and letters being passed through
This
the gate, and there's
which appears on Wikipedia, an image of it when you're looking at the 1980 to 1989 Polish history page.
Ah.
Oh.
yeah, and I mean, I just think that in this film that is so interested with these characters operating both overtly and covertly in public like this, I think that this image of the gate that we keep returning to me really reinforces the stakes of this environment where your friends are going to prison and this injustice is unfolding in front of you and I just really love that image of passing things through, and I love the moment of Maciek's mother coming. I believe it's his mother, right, who comes to the gate.
Yes, yeah. When,
and
this is when we sort of diffuse the myth that I keep forgetting his name. What's his name? Winkle.
Yeah.
Winkle hears from his his superiors in the Communist Party that like, oh, this guy, he's not really about this. He's a faker. He's a fraud. Like his mom is super rich and sends him money. Like he doesn't even
that's
need to
right.
work
Yeah.
for what he's living on. And she arrives and basically refutes that, inadvertently. She's not like, but she's like crying because she can't see him and she hasn't seen him for years. She doesn't talk to him.
Yeah, and so I just think that there are understated choices that the film is making like that in where we present some of these exchanges and this intimacy, but also distance that moments like that maintain. I would agree with Tucker that I didn't find it particularly formally interesting, but I think that it's like very considered.
Yeah,
And in its consideration, I think it's effective in how it's made.
sure.
Mhm,
I think there's certainly like a verisimilitude about it, in its attempts to sort of stay true and honest, or depict honestly the events or the rough events of what happened in very very recent history to when this film came out. I was just perusing the Wikipedia page last night, and I just wanted to refresh my memory that this did come out like in a very brief window of time where like censorship in Poland was like loosened.
I was gonna
and
ask
so
because it seems if I were the censoring body, I would not let
yeah,
this movie get released.
basically between August 1980 and December 1981 is when there was just like this strange occurrence in
A
the
thaw,
Polish Communist Party, a thaw,
some
yeah, where they're like where things loosened up a little bit, and Vajda like leapt on this opportunity to make this movie that is, yes, quite critical of the communist regime that was in place at the time. Yeah.
extremely, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah, it is holistically on the side of Maciek and the striking workers, and depicts these these authoritarians, these men in the back rooms who make the decisions as like sweaty drunks who are paranoid and
And like
mean
Winkle
and
is like the
belligerent.
worst version of them. He's the sweaty drunk, but he's also weak and ineffective and really easily swayed by whoever's
Yeah,
talking to him.
he's the grunt these guys are like, we know that you're a coward and that you don't believe in anything and that you don't have a moral backbone, but like you're the guy at the bottom of the ladder, so you're gonna go do the shit work for us.
And Winkle's history too. I part of the theme that I enjoyed reading into as the film progressed was this discussion of media, right? You guys know full well my opinion of journalists, and this film centers a
Hate 'em.
journalist. And so this journalist in the movie, right, is not set up as a very likable character, and I appreciate how the other characters are kind of like needling him and needling about the media. And that's why I think Anya's character is so interesting because she comes in as the other side of that equation,
Yeah.
as
The
like
independent
independent,
sources.
the
Well, she's just a detestable kind of person, a documentary filmmaker. Yuck.
Makes me crawl inside my own skin.
woman
Don't know anybody who does that.
Yeah.
And just like
crawls inside your skin.
no
Who
makes documentary films.
Timo makes documentary films.
Something that I found very interesting about like media and authoritarianism is just like the presence of the media machine, the camera and the tape recorder. That like there's this moment where Winkle is accosted by some journalist and he's like, sign this petition or whatever, or sign
Yeah,
this
yeah,
statement.
his like fellow journalists are like,
Yeah.
hey man, like the government is like fucking breathing down our necks. We can't speak the truth about what is happening during the strike. Would you put your name on this
Yeah.
letter that's like, hey, just to let everyone know, and that the journalists are
of
pissed
course,
off that we can't do this.
Winkle is like, nah, I don't want to do that because he's like undercover. He gets forced into doing it anyway. But what did you notice? Did you notice this like a random dude comes up behind as the guy's holding the papers there, boom, snaps a picture of it. This thing is happening all throughout the movie. People are recording and like I think the attention paid to making a surveillance state and the police state, like the kind of the solidarity movement is like, are we a democracy or are a police state, is like a question that is posed at the end of the film. But I think about today, we live in a surveillance state based off of our smartphones, but the effectiveness of the government's knowledge of what everybody was doing, plenty there. Like, they don't need smartphones to know what the documents say and what everybody what the phone calls are going on, and is this room bugged, and they're like, yeah, it's probably bugged. Like, I think
I do.
Whose room isn't
pervasive and
bugged?
so
Raise your
interesting
hand.
and so like just foreign for me, but also not that foreign in the same stroke.
I like
I bugged your house.
every instance of that kind of stuff where it is Vijay depicting the administration that needs to be in place for a oppressive authoritarian regime.
Like, they raid
every time that
and there's 12 dudes in there.
I was mostly thinking of every single time that they asked Winkle to sign something, to affirm that there is a paper trail of his like allegiance to the government, basically,
or
but he
accepting
also, like,
of being a
almost
mole.
doesn't realize what's going on.
Yeah,
he's like kind of doing it like he's always in a rush.
Yeah,
which I think is a really interesting character trait for him, is that he's in this situation and he's just like treading water, trying to figure out what's going on and in any given moment, who he should be, like what kind of role he should be playing. But and again, the other interesting thing about him, I think why this movie ended up feeling like approachable, is he's not a pro at this. He's very much a guy who's way in over his head. And I kept putting myself in the mindset of anyone else in the movie, frankly, because almost no one knows who he really is, what his true beliefs are. We come to learn over the course of the movie that he actually does seem to more genuinely side with the striking workers, and like ends up like quitting by phone by the end of the movie. But if you put yourself in the mindset of any other character that he's interacting with, he's always suspicious.
Yeah,
like he's either suspicious because he's like sweating and like, oh god, what's gonna happen?
He's got the
or
shakes.
He's got the
that
shakes,
too.
yeah. Or that maybe you can also interpret it as like that makes him more believable because he's not like cool and collected. He doesn't. He's
not a spy.
Pro
guy,
doesn't feel like a spy. Yeah. So like I think is like even if like I don't think him as a character, like backstory wise, I don't know, I'm not like super jazzed by him, but I think the idea of framing this like very tense, complicated narrative where almost everyone else is very politically serious about this and their life is seriously on the line. They've had it on the line many times and they understand the stakes and they know the histories. He is a fish out of water in a very interesting way that I think is why this movie ended up feeling more approachable. Is I'm like, I feel like I would also be nervous in this kind of situation and not knowing quite what side to take and like what choice will end up being better for me. He's such a strange character to have in this kind of movie.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Abram.
I mean, I think that what's interesting about the broad situation of the movie, and Agnes has an interesting quote when she's meeting with Winkle towards the end of the film, where she says something effective like, and like it's something effective like, and when you're in jail, at least you know you can't be locked up.
Right. Yeah.
And there's this sort of openness with which a lot of characters are moving through the world. To go back to my point about this sense that a lot of things are happening in the open. Winkle is this character who I don't. It's to Tucker's point. It's hard to perceive him as any kind of spy or any kind of smooth operator because it's very bold faced sort of what apparatus he's a part of, and what he's doing there. And so I guess part of what to me was less interesting about his character, but is maybe interesting about like the social situation of the movie, is that I never really feel as though he's in a particularly escalating sense of peril. There's obviously the exchange that he has in the dojo, for want of a better way to describe that location, where he's
The
being
police
threatened.
brutality training center.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, that place. Okay, yeah, I see what you.
And he's being threatened with being locked up for a crime that he
It's
previously
like drunk driving, right?
drunk driving, crashed into a horse,
Yeah,
or
he
crashed his
crashed into
horse
a
into
horse in a
something.
cart or something. Yeah,
And so there's this assertion
Why
that
is that illegal?
true.
there's an assertion that he is going to be in material danger if it does not produce this bed of materials and information that
Dossier or
the
something.
but I don't really feel that there's an urgency to his character the way that I believe the urgency for Maciek and Agnieszka and those characters. And so while I find him to be an approachable way into the story, I just don't find the stakes as they relate to him in particular to be that interesting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think I agree with you, especially because I kind of had a hard time telling exactly what information he was trying to find out. They're kind of like, yeah, go get some dirt. Like, go get yourself in there. Like,
There's something. Yeah, this guy's got some
you
skeletons in
gotta
his
learn
closet.
something.
Yeah,
I think and like for me, maybe this helps heighten his sense of confusion because he's not given clear instructions of what he
Right.
needs to do, and so he's like just like going from person to person. He like stumbles into a lot of situations where he ends up learning things. But I agree with you. The like forward momentum of it ends up feeling a little bit meandering because I'm like, neither me or him know what the goal is other than get information and deliver it back. Like, because also he doesn't seem quite aware how much time he has left until like there's this final thing where he's like, oh, we need this in 2 days. And he's like kind of blindsided by that. I don't know. I don't really remember if earlier he gets that information of like how much longer he's supposed to have or anything like that. This movie does have, I think, a little bit of an issue of like helping me understand like what the pressure is. What is his goal and how much time does he have left? Like these are usually things that would really create a sense of momentum and pacing. But this movie kind of just was like, and again, I think it does kind of fit this sort of like scrambly nature of what this of like the conflict that we're following here of like everyone is kind of like trying to get behind the wall and like figure out what's going on, like cut off the communication lines and all those things. Like there isn't a rigid structure to any of this. It's just basically chaos. And he's kind of thrown into the middle of it, and they're like, "Figure it out. We need you to figure it out." Basically, and he's like, "What the hell?"
So yeah, Tucker mentioned like the structure of this and like how maybe uneven it can feel with Winkel's characterization. I think part of that is because I introduced this a little bit at the beginning. He is low key, kind of the main character, but also kind of not. I mean,
He is.
yeah. How? But here's my thing. How much of this movie's runtime would you guys say is flashback to Maciek and like his origin story, basically?
One
I
half.
think it might be close. I think it's like 50% of the movie
Yeah, I would say it's close to
is
half.
this flashback stuff.
I mean, even if
Um,
it's less than that, his narrative is what animates this whole movie.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's
exactly.
why Winkel is there.
Exactly. So that's why I'm kind of like, it is almost a two-hander, but it's just one guy exists in the periphery in 1980 and is like the guy who is the protagonist in 1970 or 1972 or whenever this earlier segment of the film takes place. But no, I think we should talk about that side of this movie as well, because as Abram said, it is why Winkel is there. And we have I think we all seem to enjoy. Excuse me, I gotta get the actor's name here. Marian Openaya as Winkel. But like, what do you guys think of Jerzy Radvilovich? Yeah, or Witz. Like WICZ is
He's like
usually
Witz,
Witz, right?
Bitch.
As Maciek Tomzik, and then he also does double duty as Maciek's father, Maciusz Birkut.
Hmm. I mean, I think that his character is it's the animating part of this film. He is the we enter this frame, the sort of frame narrative, I guess, if you want to talk about 80 versus flashbacks. Being curious about this guy, we are told about him. He is this way, he is that way. He had to go to the hospital. He is
Mhm.
deranged. He's taken money from his mother. These kind of things. And then as Winkle learns, we learn. But I think it's a clever piece of screenwriting to have this kind of like the web of the people that both Maciek and Winkle know is somewhat overlapping. So like when Winkle goes and talks to how does it Zidek, the film
Oh yeah.
projectionist,
Yes.
um, and that then we would dive into this whole plot thread of the student protest and the kind of early uh, Tomchik versus Birkut kind of like father versus son, who one of them wants
Mhm.
to revolt. They have this. I think the scene between Jizdek, Tomchik, and Birkut, where like Maciek Tomchik is going
Mhm.
crazy to get his dad, and he's like, "You got to join us. You got to get the dock workers to join us." And the dad is like, "It is not the right time. I will not do it." I find that all the discussions on um, like morality, freedom, democracy, protest, anti-government activity. What do they want? What's an effective way?
Mhm.
Um, and then just this effective imagery of the actual protests getting beaten down in flashback, and which lends a lot of credence to later when the characters are exclaiming, we this is what's been happening to us. We've been beaten over and over and over again. And the what the film is, I think, trying to say about some hypocrisy of the state in between the valorization of in Marxist Leninist ideology, the worker is supreme and is supposed to have supreme control over everything. um and in this movie they get beaten to a pulp and shot at. So that
Yes.
is like um the I find that to be like the most, maybe the most, I don't know if it's the most interesting, but a very interesting part of Maciek's
Uh,
character and just like the central conceit of the movie.
I found it to be very interesting as well. This disagreement that he has with his father that ultimately serves to animate a consideration on his part and on the part of the audience about you know the different groups of people that revolted, that staged strikes at this time. They sort of draw a delineation between like Maciek and Zidek were students in 1968 and like begged Birkut, Maciek's father, to like, hey, you should like get the dock workers together. You guys are a very powerful group of people, a very powerful union. If you supported the students, that would legitimize our cause a lot and like help us stand up to the government. And he's like, no, 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 no. You guys, you can't just you can't just pull together the union for a strike whenever you want. Like this doesn't make sense. You guys are just basically like LARPing, cosplaying, to bring in some modern terminology here. Like, this is all you students are intellectuals, you're going to university, whatever. That he sort of like shames his son for not being like a real hardworking man who is striking against the government. He kind of
Hmm.
views them as just children who are being petulant at the government, not any cogent sort of issues they're taking here. And then, in turn, a couple years later, when the dock workers are striking, when Maciek's father is leading this strike against the government, they in turn ask the students. They walk by this dormitory and ask like, "Hey guys, come out, join this strike with us." And the students are like, "Fuck you! You didn't help us. We're not going to help you back." And it really conjures in the mind this consideration of like, how human grievance and pettiness can get in the way of solidarity in the face of like enemy of my enemy kind of thing.
Hmm.
Or the common
But
enemy rather.
it's at that protest wherein Birkut is killed.
Yes, yes.
And that is
uh
I don't know, the central facet of Maciek's character, the central
it's
like
this.
reason for his being later on. Like from that point on, all of
Mhm,
his motivation. Why does he go back to the docks? Why does
mhm.
he become a protest
I
leader?
love
He
all of that
like
stuff where
takes this
Maciek is
struggle
talking
on.
about.
Yeah.
where Maciek is he gets institutionalized, which the communist government sort of says like this guy's unhinged, he's crazy, he can't be trusted, but he gets institutionalized because he's driven to a point of madness by the the fake news coverage of his father's death
Well, and
and
the
the strikes
lack
and
of
everything.
a point that hits close to home, and desecration of the grave, lack of a burial site, the
Yes,
removal of
true.
a grave.
Mhm.
That's a pretty
Like
immoral act, I'd say. It's a pretty bad
I
thing to
wrote
do.
down this line that he has
These are
about
bad hombres.
these are bad hombres indeed. I wrote down this line that Maciek has about why he wants to be a dock worker. He wants to have more to lose, is what he says to Jidek when he's getting basically signed out of the hospital. It's like so like he does buy into this thought process that his father lays out for him. He basically follows in his father's footsteps to be a dock worker. That he wants to have more of a stake as a big capital W worker in society.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the movie is really good at sort of illustrating this perennial issue of infighting among a lot of
Yeah.
progressive causes, which you see in anything from the fiction of Andor to the real world progressive coalitions that exist.
Do you disavow Hassan Piker?
I don't even. You almost unlocked me there for a moment.
No, I'm sorry.
I think so. I think that's interesting. I think the other interesting tension that the film is really concerned with, as it relates to sort of the fabric between people in a cause, is this tension between the ideological choice and the sort of practical and sometimes self-preservationist choice. Because I think also when Maciek and Agnes are talking about this exhibition they're going to put on to really illustrate what actually happened to Birkut and his death. And there is this very open-faced threat that Maciek receives that basically, like, if you go ahead with this, you're basically going to get thrown into a hard labor camp. Like, your life is going to be ruined if you do this. And his sort of in that moment resolute opinion to go ahead with it versus Agnes's understanding of the futility of that act, I think really gives a prickly earnestness to the actions we see being undertaken in the 70s, and I think makes the death of Birkut feel all the more tragic to me, because we establish him as this principled but bullheaded man waiting for the right moment, only then for a moment to emerge, and that moment gets him killed. I think it's I like how thorny all of this is. I like that there's a very clear commitment to this broader material desire for betterment, but
Yeah.
also this this anchor of logistics and reality and sort of at times what feels like cowardice under the guise of pragmatism that I think acts as an anchor on different characters at different times. I think that when people are pointed in the same direction but are somewhat at cross purposes, I think that the dialogue that comes out of those exchanges is really, really good.
Yeah.
And something to add to that, to bring Winkle back into the wrinkle, we get to see him change. We get to see
No
him.
one says bring him into the wrinkle.
Come on,
To
it
the
was
fold,
it was
buddy.
like a, it was like a
It's too
juicy
good,
fruit
though.
right in front of me.
No,
I had
yeah,
to
but I
bite.
can't let you get away with that.
Fair enough.
Okay, to bring him back into the fold, his like reaction to this ever increasingly positive picture of Maciek is very. I find that a very like it's positive and like humanistic in a way that a person can change their mind, and a person can have all these forces like pushing on them to the huge degree that they are, and still see the reality and see the humanity, and that like through all like it takes lots and lots of flashbacks and all these different perspectives around Maciek to get Winkle to like really see who this guy sort of is. And I don't even think we get a full picture of who Maciek is, but what we do see
Yeah.
is that is a sort of fearless, motivated fighter.
a guy who becomes fearless.
Yeah.
though. I think that what's interesting to me about Maciek and why I have a little bit of hesitation of calling this a two-hander or calling him the main character is that the framing device is so strong of Winkle learning about him through the narratives of people that knew him or that know him.
Yeah.
And so that makes me feel quite distant from Maciek as a character. He feels like to me like someone I'm learning about because I'm alongside Winkle. And but that doesn't mean I don't find him an interesting character because seeing him through this series of flashbacks as we don't know much about him, as Winkle doesn't know much about him, and learning about him from an old friend, from his mother, right? And from our grandmother. Who's the older woman?
So the older woman is
his mother.
No, it's not. It's not his mother.
No, it's not his mother.
It's so okay. Hang on. This is a question I have. Sorry to derail from talking about whatever.
No, this is an important point because I don't remember who that
woman who who Winkle speaks with before he goes into the shipyard, who I thought was Agnes initially, but is not because it looked like she's like kind of in prison, but Agnes is like all the way in prison, like she's in lockup. But this woman, she has brown hair and glasses. And she has this exchange with Winkle where I think she's just like she's a friend of the family, maybe like a fellow organizer as well. But no, that old woman is her mother.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Because you're talking about, I'm looking at the cast right now. The younger woman you're talking about is Matka Hulich.
Sure,
I believe. And,
I'll trust you on that one.
And before we get to her, we go to the grandmother because I had a similar confusion because I thought that was Maciek's grandmother, but it's not. It is just a way to get into the dock.
It's a different organizer family though, because this old woman is very respected and beloved by the dock worker strikers, as is her daughter, who is a friend of Maciek.
Because they had a relationship with Maciek in the 70s.
Exactly.
Sure.
And the reason why I think we all get confused, was that his mother, his grandmother, what's going on here? It's because she tells this story of the reverence that she has for him and watching him grow up and watching him become more confident in the cause. Yes, Abram?
Well, I mean, I don't know about confidence. I feel like it's more that because we see Maciek as somebody who's very charged from the beginning. As we go back to the 70s with him, he's immediately in 1968 before his father, ready to get on the street. I think what it is more is that she reveals actually it's through her and her story that we learn about the death of his father. And so I think it's more that we get a more intimate picture of who Maciek is and what is driving his
motivation,
his
resolve.
Yeah.
And these layers that we get, and then again, I think the final layer, and the one that really connects me to him most as a character, is when we learn about his relationship with Agnes and their romance and the documentary that they're going to make together and try to use filmmaking, use another artistic medium to kind of spread their message. But again, through all of this, I feel like I come to learn more about the people telling the stories about him and how the ways that his life and his cause has intersected with theirs and the memories they have of him. And so I just find this really interesting. Is why this movie is more texturally rich to me than some of the other movies we watched for this show, is because these narratives are not clean cut. They're a little bit subjective. They're a little bit reflective. We're getting a lot of narration as these things are happening. We're cutting sort of back and forth to Winkle learning these things and seeing the emotion on the faces of the people. I like that scene with the older woman where she's peeling the potatoes. She's like, you need to help out as well. We get a little bit of personality as these narratives are being told, which really helps me, prevents me from feeling oh boy, another political movie about the message and about the cause and these things. Is the idea of this sort of reverence they have for the past. I think it has a interesting warmth to it, as we see these people reflecting on their like the look on their faces, it's like, yeah, this is something I really believe in. But they're not like immediately under danger in that exact moment because they have like a moment to breathe and tell a story. It's a very unique framing device that I think helps connect me to a lot of things, but never for me fully connects me to Maciek as a character. I'm like motivated by his ideals. I think are interesting. His situation I think is interesting. That the themes, but it's the other characters that are in the current time period that I think I more resonate with.
You said something there that reminded me kind of about the the looking back at the fondness of the past, and I think that is compared to the like cynicism and uncertainty of the present slash future. Like I'm reminded of this kind of back and forth towards the end of the film where they're all outside the gate. They've won, so to speak, and Maciek. Is Maciek there? I don't know. But Winkel is like cheering. People will be like, "We won, we got it, we won, we're happy." And then like some dude drives up in a car and speaks
to the guy he met with in the basically like dingy hotel room towards the very beginning of the movie. The guy who, oh, what the fuck did he has like a health problem where did he almost like cough himself into a heart attack or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that happens.
And he's like, man, it's just a piece of paper. Like it doesn't. This victory does not get any of what they wanted.
Yeah, it was almost. I was almost surprised at how happy the ending was up until that moment and the moment where G-Deck was like, "Hey man, we found out you were like working for the government. What the fuck, dude? Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
But like before that was like everything's turning up well. The government conceded to the strikers' terms. Fucking Winkel quit his job with the government. Like everything is up on the up and up. And then those two things happen.
He's got a little snark as he's quitting over the phone. He's like,
yeah.
I'll show that.
And then it's so funny, I think this is maybe a Vajda sort of little kick in the ribs for how quick like administrative turnover is in the communist government. Where he's like, why don't you tell this guy this thing that only means something between me and him? He's like, he doesn't work here anymore. It's like we're under new management.
We got new leadership. Yeah.
So he's like, oh, well, then just tell him I quit.
It's not big deal.
Well, I think this is an important thing because as we're talking about kind of what we get out of these stories that we hear that take us in the past, what we get out of the ending, I think it's also important to remember what Winkel is doing. On one hand, he is here on behalf of the government, but in a practical sense, and we're thinking about the methodology of what he's doing, he's here reporting out the story of Maciek's life. And so I think that this these ideas of process and this journalistic process we see put into action is interesting because the tension in Winkel's character is between him wanting to do this story the right way and the fact that the government to whom he's reporting simply want information to package in the way that best suits their
It's like Winkel has
needs.
like a tiny little bit of journalistic integrity at the center of him, but he's weak-willed, and so that only comes out infrequently.
He used to. I think we're meant to believe that like he used to be like a committed reporter, but years of just working in the system under the thumb of the censorship and regime has just worn him down to be a guy who's like, who gives a fuck about what we say in the goddamn radio,
Yeah, and so there's like this tension where he mentions, well, I have to edit this, and he's rebuked by saying, who said anything about editing? You're just gathering us information. And so that tension doesn't override the fact that as we meet these characters like Hulwich or we meet Anya, so all these characters, we're there to sit down and do interviews that are sort of on background and at times on the record, giving information that's going to create a profile of this person. And so I think to Tucker's point, part of why we get a rich sense of the people and we kind of get a very specific side of Maciek is because this film is interested in this journalistic process. And it's interested in these different types of writers and filmmakers and people who are using their craft and to spread a message and having their craft be constrained by the government around them. To talk a little bit about Agnes more directly, we obviously have this whole part where she is explaining that she wants to tell the story of what actually happened to Maciek's father.
She has the most brilliant pitch ever. I need a camera, I need a crew, and I need money. Beautiful. You don't need much more to get your movie made.
Yeah, she's not great at selling her concept.
The pitch, yeah. She needs to work on the elevator pitch. One note for Agnes.
Well, there's clearly a give and take between her and this person. This is
It's
like
a take.
I'm pretty much joking when I say that.
Yeah.
but so but I think it's important that they have that familiarity, because it's clear then that she's crossed a line, and there is this point
And
made
probably
to-
not the first time she's done this.
No, probably not.
There's this point about how she went to elementary school for free, and she went to high school for free, and then film school for
yeah.
well, no, she went to film school for
million.
Zlotys.
yes, and she went to and it cost that to go to film school, and she needs to pay that back to the government effectively through
just, like,
making films
I find
that
this
are
point
in
like
their image.
so interesting,
Yeah.
because we think about positive aspects in a broad sense of Eastern Bloc society. Free healthcare, free housing, whatever, however quality it is.
Killer vibes for a video game.
Yeah. I think that the way that this scene plays out is like the benefits of living in the society can also be used to coerce you, because it's like, well, you received all this stuff from us, so now you have to act in our interest because we gave it to
Yeah.
You
you.
must contribute.
If there are authoritarian leaders at the head of said society, then yes,
Yeah.
that is the relationship, that is the flip that they try to put back on you.
And so,
not to say
interesting.
that that's not the case in capitalist countries. Like, I won't name any, but
Name a capitalist country, I dare you.
Well, I just like this idea that like we're seeing these authoritarian forces impinge on these artistic and journalistic freedoms, and yet the actual structure of the film is illustrating those journalistic principles in action. It's just that end result is then
Do you
censored. I think that's interesting.
Do you think Vijay is in any way trying to connect the struggle of the artists underneath authoritarians and the workers underneath authoritarians? You think they get beat?
No,
they get
I don't
beat down
think so. I
in
think
a
that's,
similar but different kind of way.
little too far of a reach there, Tima. I know that we like to do some thematic pondering on this show, but I just don't know if it's there, pal. No, yeah, I think that's certainly the case, especially with with this Anya's character. And again, Tucker shouted out, but I do think that Christina Yanda's performance is really like a bolt of lightning that comes in the third act.
She's
of
so
this movie.
energetic. These other characters are
She's got great energy.
they're a little
yeah.
dour. Like Winkle's a really dour guy. He's not
Well, yeah,
ever
it's so
happy.
interesting
And Tom,
because
Maciek,
we get introduced to her, we're basically like creeping around the corner of this prison cell or whatever. This guy like, okay, I'm gonna let you in to go talk to her or whatever. And then Winkle gets in there and he's like, hello, I am here to talk to you to get dirt on Maciek for the great glorious communist government. Hey, is this room bugged? And she's like, no, I don't think it's bugged or anything. I think, she says it's probably,
she's like, she
probably
doesn't,
is, right?
she DGA.
Yeah, it's probably bugged. But she has she lives out this attitude of like, what the fuck? I'm already in prison. What are they gonna do to me?
Because also, as we learn, they don't beat people anymore.
Political prisoners.
sure.
Political prisoners, they don't beat them anymore.
Oh, sure. Well,
I don't buy that.
yeah, well,
But
I don't buy that. I don't think there'll be ever a point in the history or future of humanity where we do not beat political prisoners in some capacity.
but then we do. I mean, I love this whole conversation between Winkle and Agnes, where she's got a real devil may care attitude about all this. Where she's like, there'll be a changeover in the government. I'll get released. Something will happen. The ebb and flow of how these things go will eventually swing back in my favor.
And she's right.
And she's right. She
Not
gets
too
fucking
long
let
after.
out. Which is another note on the happy ending vibes I was getting. It was like, really, this is some But then we do of course get sort of her history with Maciek, which is this. Not a super long segment, but we spend a considerable amount of time of our third act just kind of like, all right, here's them like in love, getting married, starting a family, also still being like radicals and progressives and fighting for these causes in the face of government censorship and authoritarianism or whatever. Like, this is a good chunk of this third act before we get into the strike is won, happy ending, but asterisk kind of thing. Which I find interesting is
Mm-hmm.
this because we spent all this time talking about Maciek and how he is something of a textured character, but we're always kept at an arm's length from him by hearing these stories from third parties told to Winkel about Maciek, and this segment with Agnes is no different. Because Maciek in this movie, this is a point I wanted to make a while ago. Sorry, is that he's like a folk hero. That is how Vijay, the director, the auteur of this story, is like painting him to be. He's someone that is forged, as I think.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
this
Mayhaps
brunette woman.
like a piece of ferrous metal.
Yes. I mean, the woman whose name we forgot literally says that Maciek had to be forged like iron by life, is what she says to Winkel about him. And this is just a thought I had where like Maciek's father died, and the film that Vijay did previously about him was called Man of Marble, where marble is statuesque and beautiful, but can still be destroyed and cracked and turned to dust. Whereas iron is hard forged and perhaps isn't as isn't as gleaming and beautiful, but is stronger
Mm-hmm.
and is lasts longer. I'm just like interesting, perhaps meaning of those two titles as we pass the baton from father to son here. But no, like we do a fair bit of humanizing or whatever you want to say with this Agnes and Maciek sort of segment of them getting married and having this life together and everything. Like you are meant to buy in that ultimately, he is not just this activist who is maybe a larger than life figure, that he had a love of his life and everything, who he liked to spend time with, and they still worked on all this stuff together.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I like it in the same way that I love my beloved Andor. We have this central figure, and it is through the people around him that he becomes, as you were saying, forged into this tool that he needs to be. And I find that this section is extremely useful for increasing the stakes, because he is someone that we come to learn has a child, and the child is even being subject to search and harassment by
Yep.
this government, and now the child is in hiding. I think that this escalation of the ways we come to understand Maciek in increasingly intimate ways, from somebody who is
Right. It's
we,
like his
we, we
student. We go from like student
yeah
friend to lover, basically, on the
yeah
two ends of
Mhm.
the people we meet. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that that's a really nice arc as we get closer to the core of the character.
I don't
Um,
really have a lot more, but I was reminded of, I think maybe Vijay's indictment shot, the one where he slaps down the charges upon the government here.
uh-huh.
It's at the way towards the end of the film where Winkel is standing in this big giant empty room, and this is the
Oh
only
yes.
time we have obliquely communist imagery in which there is on the left side of the frame, like here there's like a gigantic statue of Lenin, and he's just
Yeah.
huge, he's humongous in the frame, and Winkel's like this
He's
tiny
taking up the third.
like a whole third, and Winkel's this tiny little
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
guy
the
right
back
there.
end zone.
um
Uh-huh.
Pretty obvious when it comes to composition there of what he's trying to say, but
Yeah.
just like the placement in the film, I think is excellent, and the fact that it's so restrained in like the uh overt criticism of the government's ideology, and he holds it back, and then in this last one he's like, well, and it's because of
Yeah.
old Vladimir Ilyich.
And that shot basically comes right between, I believe, between like the two asterisks, the two like, hey, everything isn't hunky dory with this ending
Yeah, it's
kind
like
of moments
right
that I mentioned.
after
It's right after Zedek says
pulls the
like
wire off of him.
exactly, and then right before Winkel stumbles outside and sees that car with his boss in it. It's like
Yeah,
this fucking agreement will never stand.
it's there's this constant reference of, does this order come from your boss or your boss's boss? And we
Yeah,
all
yeah.
know who the boss's boss is in this thing, and it's that statue.
Yeah. One thing that speaking of bosses upon bosses, I wrote down this line that I just wanted to shout out. I believe it is with the character who said anything about editing this story that you have to write for us.
That's the guy who's like eating, right?
Yes, he has this like impromptu dinner set up in this like hotel ballroom.
He's like taking
or whatever.
meetings during dinner. He's so busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has this great line that is like, "Don't struggle when you're neck deep in shit. You might drown." He's like, just don't
don't make waves.
Don't make waves.
Well, it might be a translation issue. Though the version I saw was definitely a don't.
Mine was like
don't
Tucker's.
struggle.
Don't make waves makes more sense because then the waves would crest over your
and the
fucking
shit
head.
will go in your mouth.
Well, I understood the don't struggle thing because it's
Yeah, I
like
think it's clear either
it's like
way.
quicksand. It's like
Yeah, it's
quicksand.
like
Poop water.
But no, I just like that line. It's pretty funny, and also speaks to like the attitude that the authoritarian government is trying to imbue in all of their grunt work people. Is like, listen, man, just don't make any waves. Don't cause any trouble. Just do what we say. We'll give you a little money, and you'll be okay. Like, who do you want to join? Us or these people who are like causing all this trouble, who we eventually send to prison? Like, whose side do you want to be on here?
Well, there's that's an important refrain across the entire film. Like, you got to be on a side here.
Yeah.
And as it comes from Winkel's bosses, they seem to think that it's a very obvious answer, but not in the direction that Winkel ultimately does.
They are all like Winkel at the beginning of the movie, who is like, oh shit, that I'm getting brought over to my boss's like manor or whatever. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And then some dude in a suit behind a desk just like hands him a wad of cash, and he's like, "Here's some cash. Here, sign this thing." He's like, "Fucking A, right, I'll sign whatever you got for me. Hell yeah."
And then he gets to town and he's like, well, there's prohibition on, and he's sweating buckets. But don't worry.
That's all
and
great
we
stuff,
spin
too.
the base around, and there's the liquor cabinet in the
Yeah,
back
that's a
of
great
it.
little moment.
All-
And by the
all
way,
the
that's
stuff-
not like that well hit. Like if you could find it. if you're
But
really
would you
looking
look?
for
But would you look there? I wouldn't look
Hmm.
behind the base for the booze.
I liked all the Winkel alcoholic stuff too.
When he drops the
anytime
bottle and
gets
he's got to
into an
bring out
argument,
the liquor.
that is
I'm
like
not-
a strong like a beginning note for this character when he's
Yeah.
like is soaking it up and draining it into a cup. He drinks it. He's like, oh god, that's fucking terrible.
That's horrible. Yeah. Yeah, and like all the liquor
Fucking
they drink,
vodka
they
out of a
hate.
towel.
They drink.
tastes like floor.
Tastes like
It's
floor.
warm. It's something they keep saying with the film projectionist scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
I put it in a
But also
score.
that idea of what
Tucker, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I-
name my
I-
score.
you can't just do that.
Timo already said he's running out of material, which is sort of
but I feel like the prohibition element is quite interesting because
oh sure.
it creates this bond across political lines of everyone. It's a poll, and they all like to drink. And there's this line early on in the movie where like
No agreement was ever made by sober polls.
exactly, yeah, and that sets you in this mindset of the importance of alcohol in this culture, and also then how much of a struggle it is for everyone to not have alcohol, and how important and unifying it is. No matter if you're Winkel and you're trying to schmooze with the communists or schmooze with the dock workers, that if someone has a drink, and then they can kind of like let their inhibitions down a little bit. I think that like little touch in the story goes a long way to like giving a moment of connection between characters because everyone's got like some sort of half drunk bottle that they've been like keeping that they found in the thing.
Your reserves.
The reserves.
and I just it builds character for this
it
world.
also just adds to like the discomfort of the Winkel character across the entire film is that he's always just jonesing for the next drink with any conversation that he's having with somebody.
And I think logistically it proves the dock workers' power. That we really actually
Certainly,
believe
yes.
that they mean business right off the top of the movie, because when he tries to sweet talk the bartender, and she's like, "Nah, man, I'm not stupid. I'm not
Listen,
serving
man.
you anything."
yeah.
All right. Any other points? I'm pretty much, my bottle of vodka is pretty much empty. So
I'm tapped out too. I'm tapped out.
you know I love a beleaguered metaphor. You got to give them to me. What the heck? What the heck am I going to give this movie? I don't even know.
Beleaguered metaphor Nelson. There he is.
That's what they called me in elementary school.
Wow, they had really good vocabulary back then.
Yeah.
We were learning our
pretty impressive.
literacy here. Okay, I got a score. I thought I had to really think about that one, but here we go.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. Holy crap! I thought forever to punch in the same thing as you guys punched in. We've got a 7.5 here for Man of Iron, and the point breakdown is Abram 7.1, Tanner 7.5, and Tucker and I tied for 7.6. We are all pretty much in agreement there. I'd say that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Let us look now. Let us go.
No tie.
Study the list.
No tie?
7.5
Yes.
has
No ties for young men.
No tie for young men. The films that Man of Iron goes around, or in between, I should say. It's only one movie, so it's hard for it to go around something. Above Man of Iron, at spot number 32, is Kagemusha. Quite an interesting film.
The Akira Kurosawa film. Also, getting a lot of play and posts on film Twitter.
I know. I was about to say that, but then I didn't want to out
Kurosawa?
No, just Kagemusha specifically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why. Synesthetic or whatever found some good
Yeah, I guess so.
good screen.
Synesthetic's not going to Kagemusha.
It's not synesthetic. It's real like film watch. Synesthetic is there to post pictures of Anne Hathaway, which God bless him. You know, something that someone needs to do every now and then. Yeah.
What was the video that Synesthetic recently posted like 15 times in a row?
Oh, it was the Florence Pugh like show talent. You know what is it
Talent
called?
reel?
It's like
Show reel?
No. It was like her showing off a special talent she has. It was from like a year ago for the Thunderbolts press junket. It was like variety, and she's like doing. She has like a baton, and she's like putting her legs through it and then whipping it around her head.
Watch this video.
Oh, what is it called though? When somebody does that,
A talent show? No,
Showing off.
no,
not
the
ventriloquism.
specific act of like not ventriloquism, but like contortionism.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
You're
you
contorting
said
my
talent
brain
show
right
earlier.
now.
So yeah, all right, man.
Man of Iron, just so that the
Yes.
record is straight, is at spot number 33 on our list, and the following film, spot number 34, is Titan, a more recent winner of the Palme d'Or. So, so there we have it. Shall we move on and go visit the central committee of the spin wheel?
Yes,
Whoa.
certainly. Timo is, of course, our undersecretary of spinning wheels. Has more than one meaning.
Ready, Tanner?
Yeah.
Can you sing it in Polish?
No, I cannot.
Wheel.
Wheel, what's your deal? Give us a movie that makes us squeal. Is it on digital or is it on real? Wheel, what's your deal?
31. That's what we've got.
That's gonna be a pretty recent one, if I can refer to our list here.
Because bigger numbers equals newer. Tanner's happy. What is it going to
Holy
be?
shit. Gentlemen, what is the movie that we have been just waiting and waiting for years to finally roll on this dear show? One of the movies on this list, one of the movies on this list that when we looked at the entire history of the Palme d'Or winners, we said, holy shit, we get to talk about
Bowling
this?
for Columbine?
That's crazy.
Is it PF?
No.
Bowling for Columbine didn't win.
No, it is Timo's closest because here's the other thing. Abram has continually poisoned the well that Bowling for Columbine is the
I was
going to
say the correct one, and then I thought, no.
Okay, good. No, it is of course from 2004, Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11.
Fahrenheit. Okay. Oh baby. Let's go. I love Michael Moore.
Now, Tanner, I think that, I'm going to be honest, I think you are the first person in the history of the world to see Fahrenheit 9/11 and go, yeah!
Well, for the uninitiated...
It was about a tragedy, Tanner.
Well, I understand that. It's kind of right in the title. Reminds me of that terrible tragedy.
Oh, my God, tragedy.
Michael Moore's view on how the Bush administration allegedly used the tragic events on 9/11 to push forward its agenda for unjust wars in Afghanistan and Iraq.
We love unjust wars in the Middle East.
Film.
We love unjust wars in the Middle East.
Film. So, gentlemen, very interesting
Now,
stuff upcoming.
I want to pose a question to you three and to the audience. You guys know where I live. You guys know what event happened where I live. Should I go do a little special reporting from the site?
Well, I don't think that's. I think that's in poor taste. Tim, I think that might be in poor taste.
Record the episode from.
I don't know. No, go make
Zero?
go make a cell phone video of me talking.
I don't.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
I'll let the commenters decide. You
I
have
mean,
the power
listen,
to
I
send
have
me to
not
do
se-
some
I
reporting
have not
in
seen.
Gdansk.
I have not seen Fahrenheit 9/11. I
Me
assume
neither.
that
I
Michael
have
Moore
not.
is pretty reverential of the victims who died
Yes,
therein.
yes. We do not
and
make fun
then
of the
in
victims
turn,
nor the firefighters who
quite-
got cancer.
Yeah, exactly. Quite critical of the unjust wars that were started in the name of said.
No, he's a big fan.
victims.
He's a big
Oh,
fan.
he's a big fan of that.
of
Oh,
Al-Qaeda.
interesting. So,
Okay. Hot button
God, just
hot button episode coming right up.
exactly. I mean, the reason why I say that this has been highly anticipated is because this is just an insane movie to talk about in fucking the
Yeah.
right now.
It's like such a standout film among this canon. It's one of the
It
very
is,
few,
exactly.
make me skin crawl
Documentaries.
documentaries.
Oh
How
shit!
many-
You know what we forgot to do? Hang on,
Hmm.
we forgot to do the Palm Details for
Oh,
1981.
crap. We forgot to do them.
Oh, crikey!
1981. Hang on.
I was so happy when I heard them curse kurwa in this Polish movie. The only Polish curse word I know.
What does that one mean?
Bitch.
Nice,
Whoa.
nice, dude.
Nice.
All right. So at the 1981 Cannes Film Festival, Man of Iron from Poland was the sole winner, of course. The jury president this year was French director Jacques Deray, who directed the swimming pool, La Piscine, if you will. This is the only notable film I see in his filmography. The only film that I recognize, anyway. Other notable jury members this year was Ellen Burstyn, American actress Ellen Burstyn, and then Carlos de Guez from Brazil. Hang on, I'm going to Google this guy's name. Why did I put him on the notable jury members list? Oh, he's the director of several Brazilian movies. Bye Bye Brazil, God is Brazilian, Jica, a couple other things. Other films in competition. Here we go. Of the 21 other films in competition, films that were notable. Hey, one that got a shout out earlier, well, I guess maybe the opposite of a shout out early in this episode in a comment, Chariots of Fire. Hugh Hudson's Chariots of Fire was in competition this year, the Best Picture winner from 1981. John Boorman's Excalibur, obviously invoked in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Of course.
Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate was in competition this year.
Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
I saw a rather middling play about how that movie ruined his career, and
Yeah. A Ken Loach film, Ken Loach, friend of the show, Looks
love
and
Ken
Smiles
Loach.
was in comment of the show. Was in the competition.
Right, it's about fucking poor people.
I bet
being
it's
sad.
going to make me cry
Probably.
by the end of it.
Andrzej Wajda's Possession. That's a fucking awesome movie. I wish that one. Holy shit! And Thief. Michael Mann's Thief was also in competition this year. Crazy lineup there. But Man of Iron came out victorious.
Vijay, he came out victorious.
Gotcha, man.
And we, I'd say, are victorious at the conclusion of this episode.
Of course.
Aye, Captain.
Yeah,
So stick around next time.
we're declaring victory here.
We are declaring victory. We're going to talk about Michael Moore's anti-war documentary, Fahrenheit
Mission
9/11.
accomplished, some might say.
And you know what to do. Stay cool. Keep warm. Peace.